to another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Heavy Mark Davis talk in the show today. He was a star. He was a star over the weekend. He was made a star.
He's a star. He's a big, bright, shining star.
You want to be a star, don't you? Get on the casting couch. So first question, it's Mark Davis related. Question of the day. We'll pin it down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. How can Josh McDaniels survive the Raiders season? I'm not saying that like he's got Ebola. I mean, how can he survive keeping his job this season? Because things have gotten bad for all JMD. Fire Josh McDaniels has been trending on Twitter and other places. We all saw the video, which we'll play here shortly, of fans yelling at Mark Davis, fire Josh McDaniels. It was affecting him a little bit. Can Josh McDaniels survive the Raiders season? Because I think with some fans, it's like done deal, fire him now.
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a path for him to save this team? How can he save his job this season with 13 games left? Pause for effect.
I mean, the short answer is easy. Win games.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You win and everything is forgiven. I mean, people don't want to hear this, but we are only 4 games into a 17-game season. There can be, and we have a lot of very winnable games coming up. So start winning and you save your job, basically, right? That's the easy answer. The way that I like to look at this is from the person making the decision and what they've shown you in the past. And when looking at Mark Davis's leadership style, you have to take a look at what he's done and what he's been preaching. And it seems like to me, like Mark Davis is a very big, like my plan A is the plan, right? Mm. And the problem with that is, like in business or leadership or anything else, like this, there's a saying, it's plans are useless, but planning is everything. Mm-hmm. So you have to plan for things to go wrong, right? That's why he was chasing after Gruden for so long, right? And then when he finally got him, he gave him 10 years. You have full control of the franchise. Let me just kick my heels back and watch you run the franchise for 10 years. There was no, you always, even though you gave a guy 10 years, you have to know what you would do in case. Let's say he dies in a plane crash or he ends up banging one of his assistants or something like that, right? And he gets fired. Like you have to have something in place of what to do if. And I don't think he had that. I don't think he has that now. I don't think that's how he's wired.
Mark Davis probably has like 10 illegitimate children because he doesn't believe in plan B.
Nope. No plan B, no plan C.
Well, done.
And he gave 2 guys, one guy who hadn't done the job in 11 years, one guy who's never done the job, full control of his castle. And he's preaching patience because I think his plan was, I need them in place for a certain number of years. Number one, because he doesn't want, not that he can't, he doesn't want to be paying 3 head coaches at once, right? But also because he wants to see a plan through. And I see a lot of parallels between Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels and how they lead and their leadership style. We've scored a touchdown in the first quarter of every single game, two times in the first drive. And we've scored 17, 10, 18, and 17 points. That goes to show you we start off good, don't do very well the rest of the game, right? Mm-hmm. So Josh McDaniels has a plan in the beginning, and I've been saying it, I think you've been saying it too, is his adjustments. He's not really good at adjustments. And they're very similar in that way, where Josh McDaniels is very like, this is the plan. We need to do this better instead of, well, we're not doing it well because maybe the defense is playing for us to do what we've been doing and we have to switch it up. So I don't know that there's really much that can happen because of their leadership, because of Mark Davis specifically his leadership style. I don't think there's much that Josh McDaniels can do to get fired.
With Mark Davis, it's when you build something from the ground up, right? Like when you put a second on your house to start a business, when you borrow from your uncle and put all your pride on the line and you start something up, you start a program or whatever, and you spend 10, 20, 30, a lifetime building something, that thing means more to you. You're up at nights trying to figure it out. You've in the past had to have thought outside the box, cut corners, know where the bodies are to get this thing off the ground and build it from the ground up, which is what Al Davis did with the Raiders. Mark Davis, it's his birthright. You're just like,
just got crapped out. That's all he did.
It's just like, oh yeah, you banged my mom, I came out, and now it's going to be mine. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Mark Davis doesn't care about the team or that he's, completely inept, because the move to Vegas, the way he swindled Adelson and got money, like he's done some good moves. But you approach something differently when it's handed to you versus when you build it outright. And I think what you're saying is like the micro version of the macro version of what I'm saying. You're just like, look, I don't want to deal with it. I did this coaching search. Oh, I had to get up early and interviewed head coaching candidates and interview general manager candidates. And like, I had to like read papers and like do all this work for this big coaching search. Like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go through that hassle. And I think that's how he looks at it. Like, and that's always been like the worst. Whenever we talk, and it's not just been the Raiders with Josh McDaniels, but anytime I hear the counter to a bad coach keeping their job, you always hear the argument, because that's always the argument for keeping a job is, well, continuity is important. Turnover can be really bad. If that's the strongest argument for you to keep your job, you don't have an argument for keeping your job. If it's continuity and patience should be on my side, that's not an argument. That's the default. That's basically saying, well, yeah, if you fire me, that means that you fire me and have to find somebody else. That applies to everyone's job. Everyone's job on earth. That's the downside of firing you. You're not unique in that situation. You're leaning on the laziness of your manager to be the thing that keeps you working. And if that's the case, that's not an argument for keeping Josh McDaniels.
So that's why I was talking about having a plan B set up. You have to have a goal set in mind. You have to have a big goal, which should be for every owner, is to win the Super Bowl, right? But you have to have shorter goals along the way. And you can deviate slightly from how you get there as long as you're moving in the right direction, right? And that's where I think Mark Davis falls short, is he has a goal where this guy's going to lead us to the championship. Well, what does that look like? What are the markers along the way that you need to have hit that it gives you confidence that you're going in the right direction? Yeah. And I don't think he really thinks that far ahead, honestly.
And flip side, are there some barriers going south that if you hit, it's time, right? Like, it should be both. It should be.
I was getting to that.
Are you progressing this way? And are there like ultimate defaults, right? You take your driver's ed test, like there's a couple things, but there's like, I forgot the term. It was like critical error or something. Like, if you screw one of these things up, you're not getting your license. Like, okay, maybe
boom. You hit a curb, boom. Nope.
You're done. Nope. Right? Like, okay, you didn't turn your blinker on in time. Like, okay, like you're 2 miles above the speed limit. Okay, whatever. You run through a stop sign in front of an elementary school.
Yeah.
You're back riding your bike to work, bro.
Speed. Right? Done.
What are those markers going down? What are those markers going up?
There was a question on Twitter about Mark Davis and what he was going to do. And I said, okay, look, the first question we need to ask, if we had Mark Davis sit down, right, is Mark Davis, is there a line? Not what it is, but is there one? Mm-hmm. Is there a line where you're going to go ahead and take action? Where an event or a series of events happen to cause you to take action? Is there a line? Or he's just like, he's going to be my guy, I'm going to push forward with him no matter what. So the answer could be no. I'm sticking with Josh McDaniels till next season because of X, Y, and Z. Now, if he says yes, there is a line, the next question is, what event or series of events need to happen for you to take action? What is that line, right? And the third question is, what are you going to do if you have to take action? What action are you going to take? And I don't think that he's really thought that far ahead. I think he's pretty much, this is my guy, and we'll just play it by the seat of our pants. And that's why there's been some questionable decisions made. I don't know that he's had things in place. I don't know that he has those benchmarks, positive or otherwise, to be able to guide his decision making and to guide, getting things warmed up, getting people talking. Hey, things aren't going great. Let's see if we can maybe get some people together. Is my internet really crappy?
It's terrible. Yeah.
Can you hear what I'm saying at least?
I can hear what you're saying 5 seconds after you talk. I mean, I know it's bad because it looks like your cat's sucking itself off. So I know that's not possible. So it has to be your
cleaning
internet.
his back. Relax.
Oh.
Okay. So like we're in a bad shape at 1-3, right? So this is around the time, hey, let's start taking a look at what's going on, like football people that are in place to help him make decisions, right? What's the issues that you guys see? What can be better? What can change? If we end up being like, let's say, for example, we're like 2-7 or something like that, right? God forbid. But we're like 2-7. Then it's like, okay, let's start looking at potential candidates if we do make. So start doing some of that work ahead of time, right? Get a list together. Like these are things that I don't think Mark Davis is even looking at. And it's very similar to how Josh McDaniels coaches as well. And they're very similar in that way. So,
and that should always be a part of the equation of firing or keeping a coach. Are there better coaches out there? Right? It's like what I've always talked about. Like, you want to move on from the quarterback? Okay. Are we getting a better one? Are we improving? Is there a plan? Great. Let's move on. If there isn't, then we're worse off than where we started. Right. So I think, if Sean Payton, like that's what bugs me too about not going with Bisaccia, and this is all in hindsight, but if we just kept Bisaccia for a season, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, right? You took us to the playoffs for the second time in 20 years. Can you do it again? Let's try that experiment. If the experiment didn't work and Bisaccia is gone, we're in the Sean Payton sweepstakes, right? Now, Denver would probably outbid us, but at least we're in the sweepstakes, right? At least we're in maybe we can lure him in. Maybe there's something, maybe he just loves Davante Adams, right? Or whatever. Like maybe we can get him. There's ways we can do that. Who's going to be available next season? There's always people, right? There's always some offense that overachieves and their coordinator's looking for a pay raise, but the timing is also important. Who's out there?
Yeah. So the issue that poor leaders fall in is like one of the rules of power is you don't want to outshine someone above you. You want to keep separated from them and do your thing, but not be too close to them because you're a subordinate, but you're outshining them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's going to be something that's really a big case for Mark Davis, because Mark Davis can just sit back and be like, well, yeah, I'm hired him. That's why I want him to do well. And he's a great leader and this and that. So he can just take credit for it.
Well, there's a solid adamantium ceiling between head coach and owner, right? Like you're not going to have the board of directors vote you into owner. You know what I mean? Like there's no threat to Mark Davis.
But we saw it happen with Gruden and Al Davis the first time. Is they started butting heads too much and they just couldn't get along and they couldn't agree on what was going on. And Al Davis maybe felt like the team was slipping away from his fingers and the players were all about Gruden and maybe not listening as much to him, and he shipped them off. So
I don't remember it being that way. I remember Tampa Bay just offered a king's ransom for John Gruden.
No, he wouldn't just ship them just to ship them. They were butting heads.
It was 2 firsts and $10 million, which was
they were butting heads, man. It wasn't he wasn't looking to he was looking to make a move, and he got a good deal.
He got a king's ransom. I think that's what it was a while ago, but like I kind of remember it the other way around. Like they got what for John Gruden? It's like, okay, like how do you say no to that? Anyway.
So look, it can be a very simple answer, but I don't like simple answers for the fact that it doesn't show any type of kind of like work to go into it, you know? I mean, you feel like if someone predicted something and they were just like, as long as they're right, like it's cool, they get credit for a pat on the back. But I seem to think it a little bit differently. It's not all about just being right and wrong. Like, for example, if we go to a racetrack and the dude that does a lot of homework, knows the horses, knows the trainers, and he just, he didn't pick the right horse, but the chick that picked the horse that won because she liked the name, like who are you going to get your advice from? The one who was right because they just picked it out of nowhere, or
you're oversimplifying the conversation that we had. The argument was people that were saying from the beginning Josh McDaniels will fail. You're like, well, they're just being haters and they're just saying that. Like, you don't know that. Maybe some of them were, Maybe some of them were like, I watched what he did in Denver. I know his coaching style. He hasn't improved. He's not going to succeed with the Raiders.
I don't want to run them through this whole track over and over again. What I'm saying is because there was. I mean, I didn't bring it up for it to be a conversation, but if you want to go down that line, there is a big difference between who you were now and who you were 12 years ago. What I was looking at is saying, give it a chance and to see if he's changed, to see if what he said in his press conference comes to fruition on the field. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what happens. And that's where I think we differ. And I mean, I personally don't give someone a lot of credit for making a snap judgment off of information that's over a decade old, right or wrong. Because over the course of 100 decisions, that way of making a decision is not going to be correct more often than not. More often than not, the person who waits and gathers more information will be right more often than not. So what I was saying by bringing that up is I don't know that Mark Davis is the kind of guy to gather all that much information. I think he makes his decision and then he works his way back. I
think he's also a little bit of a star fucker too. Like he was so enamored with Gruden. He's so enamored with Gruden, just absolutely in love with Gruden. Yeah. Gave him the King's Ransom, gave him Kings of the Castle. And, Josh McDaniels and the Patriot way, it's like, oh, we can get these guys that have been so successful. And Josh comes in with his, like, how many rings does he have? 5? As an offensive coordinator? 5, right? Comes in with a handful of Super Bowl rings, right? Does the old-fashioned, like, he's holding his beer can as the click, 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 click with the rings, just like knocks on the table like House of Cards, right? Like I think he gets star fucked. And Rich Bisaccia was no star by any means. So he's like, oh, who am I going to have? This special teams coach or this dude with almost half a dozen Super Bowl rings? And that's the other part of it too, is he gets starstruck as opposed to, oh, I've really gotten down in the weeds and I've done my homework and I've talked to 20 different ex-Josh McDaniels players and they've all said he's a changed man. Like, oh, he's a great guy. I go to his barbecue every Sunday now. It's like, no, you saw the glittery rings and it's like a goldfish, just grabbed it.
Yeah. Again, and they're very similar in that sense where they have a solid initial plan. The initial plan in the first quarter has worked for Josh McDaniels. We score every first quarter, but we struggle to score after that. And this is very similar to how I see Mark Davis's leadership style is I have a plan. I'm going to see it through. And is it an ego thing? Probably. There's probably some ego there that I want to be proven right. And if I change course, it's going to be seen as I don't know what I was doing or I didn't do it properly. But I think that's where we are right now. And the only way we can really get out of that cycle is by Mark Davis lucking into hiring someone who just happens to be a great leader, despite what Mark Davis is looking for.
Yeah. I think it's also, and there's been a lot of beat writers that have brought this up a couple times. This goes back to how Mark Davis is wired. Like he's the kid of a rich guy with a lot of power that thinks in those terms. Because the Las Vegas Aces, because his WNBA team is like in the NBA final. I don't even know, have they won it yet? Is it close? I don't even know. But they're in the NBA finals right now. WNBA finals right now. And he's just so happy about that he can deal with losing as a Raiders owner. Like that buys Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler time. The fact that his WNBA team is winning games. And that goes, again, how Mark Davis is wired as the kid of a rich guy. Al Davis is like, bottom line. I want success in everything. I have, 17 departments in my company. 3 of them are losing money. I still got to fix those 3. I got to worry about those 3. Whereas Mark Davis is like, yeah, I have this really big toy, the Raiders, but this brand new toy I got, it's nowhere near as big or expensive, but it's awesome. Like, I'm just going to play with my new toy.
I'm winning.
And it's that mentality. There's been so many beat writers that have brought this up that it's like, Mark Davis is so happy that the Aces are winning. It's not that he doesn't care that the Raiders are losing, but he's just like, oh, that makes up for it. Like, I have something winning. I have a new toy that's taken up my attention.
Well, and frankly, how much does Mark Davis know about women's basketball? Less than he knows about football.
I couldn't even guess.
So
I really wonder.
It's less than he knows about football. Let's just be honest, okay? So he sees that I can be this type of owner. Just put people in place. You can be that kind of owner and be successful if you pick the right person. And I don't know that he's picked the right person for the right positions. Hey, John Gruden as a head coach, I don't have much of a problem with that. John Gruden as a talent evaluator, huge issue. So picking the
All
right
parts
people
of being a
is one
GM,
thing.
trades, draft, contracts.
Awful.
Ugh.
Awful.
Ugh.
Yeah. And you know, look, Ziegler isn't much better. He's
I think there's an
better,
argument
but
that he's worse. One of these shows soon.
we'll see.
We're
We'll
gonna
see. I
sit
think
down
it's
and
a
be
little
like,
too soon. It's a little too soon to say, but you know, we have the hindsight of like Gruden's been gone for over a year now, so we can take a look back at those and see. Because I don't know that any of the people that washed out with us are like killing it somewhere else. They were just bad signings, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time to see how these draft picks, you know, pan out, and the signings aren't terrible. Just that one, there was the one, the glaring one, which is Chandler Jones, but you know, it's a little too early for that, I think. But again, it's the ego.
If you're Mark Davis and you're thinking about firing one or both of them, you're definitely in that position. Like if Mark Davis isn't doing this evaluation, then he's doing a terrible job. If he hasn't, even if he's like, look, I'm giving him both 2 years no matter what. If he's not even at least thinking about it, he's a terrible owner. I think there's definitely enough meat on that bone for us to dive into it and be like, at this moment right now, especially Ziegler, he's literally learning on the job, right? Like maybe one day he could be a really good GM, but from the day he was signed in, was it January of last year to this second, how's he doing? Has he earned the right to have this job? I think him and Josh McDaniels discussion, it's more than fair to at least have that. How have you done?
Sure, for sure, it's fair to have. I
They're
just
due
don't
for a progress
think,
report.
Yeah, I just don't think that Mark Davis thinks that way.
Yeah, you better start. Question of the day: how can Josh McDaniels survive this Raiders season? Let us know in the comment section. It will be pinned as your question of the day. So you brought up, honestly, the main one, right? So we're getting into like the macro, diving in, mentality, leadership strategy. Is Mark Davis sitting there with a pacifier on his high chair, just asking for Cheez-Its, or is he working to make his meal? It all comes down to wins and losses at the end of the day, really. And depending on what side of the aisle you're on, fire Josh McDaniels or give Josh McDaniels a chance, the schedule may look different to you. So I think it was the 8th toughest schedule, I believe, start of the season. If you just went by winning percentage of the opponents, I believe it was like 8, 9. Right? It was definitely top 10 as always, right? Play the Chiefs every year, you know, shit. It's getting a lot easier. So we're 1-3 now after beating the Broncos, losing to the Bills, Steelers, and Chargers. We got Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, primetime, buddy. And then we get into this lull in the middle of the season that's playing. We're arguably playing 4 of the 5 worst teams in football. Patriots week 6, 0-4. Bears in week 7. Detroit Lions are good. Giants atrocious, Jets atrocious. Sunday Night Football. And then of course we and then we got a tough run after that. Dolphins, Chiefs, bye week. Vikings are much better than their 1-3 record. Chargers we've already lost to. Chiefs are Chiefs on Christmas. Colts, and then the terrible Broncos. There's like between the Bears, clearly the worst team in football. Broncos probably second worst. Giants, Pats, Jets, Raiders round out the bottom 6. Panthers maybe. But that's basically it, right? So like if we take us out of the equation, we're playing 5 of the 6 or 7 worst teams in football. We may get to 7 wins. Not that we're improving or good. It's just we've played all the worst teams in football. We might get to 6 or 7 wins without getting worse. We might still get to 6 or 7 wins. So when we say at the end of the day, well, you know, he got us to 6 or 7 wins. Is that a record to be fireable? If you look at the opponents, maybe. But that would be Josh McDaniels' excuse to Mark Davis. Like, well, you know, we got 7 wins.
Yeah, I mean, it works both ways. It's the same argument as they took over a playoff team and they won 6 games the next year. Well, there's a lot more to go into that than just you took over a playoff team, right? And the same thing now is, well, I increased the wins from one year over the next. Okay, well, let's take a look at it. Let's take a deeper look at it. And when you take a deeper look, you get a better picture. So, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. These games that we're losing are very close games. One decision here and there. The Charger game was, I think, just as much taken from us as it was us beating ourselves. Mm-hmm. That crackback penalty was just, I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah,
there was a couple of those down the stretch that were really iffy. I don't know how many times we're going to get pass interference calls just picked up. You don't really see that very often. It's happened to us, like I think at least twice. So, look, we should be used to that already, but it still doesn't mean it doesn't count, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't hurt when it happens. But yeah, man, it all depends on if like Mark Davis is looking to validate his moves with just the surface stuff. Like if he's going to pull a Josh Dubois, right? If it's just a surface stat or a surface answer fits his narrative, that's what he's going to push. If the surface answer doesn't fit his narrative, he's going to find some stat underneath that to push his narrative. And you know, we'll see what happens. Yeah. But
Josh, it's definitely AMD's running out of excuses. Like he's really running out of reason. Like
he definitely is. Look, man. Look, I said it. To his credit, he adjusted his game plan and his offense to incorporate more motion, and it worked. It helped. The problem is, all you have to do is look at this. We did one time in the game, we did what Kansas City did to us and Max Crosby, using Kelsey to block him. Not a double team, but Kelsey to block him first. When Crosby got past Kelsey, then the tackle blocked him, right? Mm-hmm. So it takes time to beat one person and then another person, as opposed to beating two people at once. You have to beat one guy then the other. So I looked into that, and when Kelsey lined up on Max Crosby's side, he just ran his normal route that he was supposed to run after he blocked Max Crosby. If he had this motion to the opposite side, he just ran a choice route, a 5-yard choice route. So Mahomes knew what he was doing no matter where he was, right? Mm-hmm. And we did that once with Mayer, and Mayer stopped, Khalil Mack for like 1.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then Illuminar came up behind him and blocked him, and that gave us plenty of time to get rid of the ball. But we only did it once. And it's that type of in-game strategy is what we're missing. And it's pretty apparent. I don't know how obvious it is to Mark Davis, because that's all these questions boil down to one thing. What does Mark Davis see?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you one thing he sees, and he saw it Sunday, was this little video that we have all seen, but we'll show it again. I love his hand motions. Smarten up. Smart. Like old, like he's like an old man. Smart. I love old man hand motions. It's like exemplifies what he's saying. It's like I'm putting a visual exclamation point on my sentence.
It's so disheartening, dude.
I really don't know what you do in that situation if you're Mark Davis. I really don't know what you do. I mean, getting mad, I guess, is a natural reaction, right? You're just like, because he could have went way off, right? Like you're a spoiled old man in your box dealing with people screaming at you about your choices. Would you be like that? Would it be that crazy if you just stood up and said like, "Look, you guys don't know I'm doing my blah, blah, blah." Like he could have went off. You could have just sat there and like took it like a sad puppy dog. He went with
first off, what arrogance? What arrogance?
Smart enough.
What arrogance to be sitting in the front, getting you're losing the game, you're going to lose the game, and just to sit there and not like, I'm going to be in the front row because why not? Like, dude, don't do that. Like, first off, don't sit in the front row if you don't want to hear, if you're not prepared to hear angry fans.
Mhm.
And it's not like you didn't know they were angry. But honestly,
maybe he didn't. I have no idea how in or out.
That's the thing is, we don't know what's going through his head. We don't know because they live in a different world, man. These freaking bazillionaires live in a different freaking world.
Well,
So
especially the owner of an NFL franchise, right? Like even like giant heads of state, right? Like Joe Biden has to take calls from other presidents, from donors who decide what I mean, they let's be honest, right? Like corporations tell Biden what to do, not the other way around, right? Even like super powerful CEOs and politicians.
Are you saying there's lobbyists that are influencing the decisions of America, sir?
No. Sleepy Joe is doing everything by the soul of his character and what his conscience tells him. But when you're the owner of an NFL franchise and not like an active president, right? You're the owner. You just own the thing and sometimes hire and fire a coach. You live by nothing but yes men. That's your life. You're surrounded by yes men because you're not
you don't want to outshine the person above you.
Yeah.
And in that case, you don't want to. It's very difficult to get a point across and not endanger your job when somebody above you is incompetent. It's very difficult. That's a very difficult situation. In most cases, those people will just go to a different team or go to a different corporation because they know that their ceiling is cut off because they can't do what they want to do with that person in power because they're going to outshine them and they're going to end up getting cut anyway. So I don't know how much he knew it was a problem because of where he sits at home games. And I think this might be a good thing. I think that this might be something to kind of like plant a little seed that maybe wasn't there because, we don't know. But from all accounts, from what I've seen of him, I think he's been dead set on rolling with this combo of McZiegler through until next season. And I think next season is the big one for them to really make it happen or not. That's the make or break for them. But this season, they're in his mind, they were safe. But you get that, you get that emotion out of him. That's kind of what you want. You want to get that emotion from him to where, hey, I'm being looked now. Now they're coming after me. It's not the team. It's not.
I've got this new chick sitting next to me, and y'all are embarrassing me. You know what I mean?
I like how no one's looking at him. Everyone's just looking away. Like
I have so many thoughts about this video. Like the Cirque du Soleil chick from last year. Where'd she go? She on the road somewhere?
She's in Vegas, bro.
Well, I mean, you can't take one Sunday off and
why would you take Sand to the beach? She's got plenty of chicks in LA, bro.
Well, that's my point. Is obviously she's not a steady one. You know what I mean? Like, is this a newt? Is this a just a local? Right? Did he get on Craigslist and be like, who wants to sit in the owner's box? And who's this girl? Is it two girls at once? Is it she got to bring a friend? Because they don't look like they're having fun at all. I don't know if they're football fans or not. They don't look like they're having fun at all.
Definitely not having a great time.
Looks like he's sucking his thumb here. I can do a lot of screenshots that look really bad on Mark Davis. So first, obviously, always, whenever you go into the Raiders boxes, chick situation, what's going on? That's the first thing. The other thing is, why is no one talking about the MVP of this video? This dude in the bottom left corner, the Al Davis lookalike. No one's talking about this guy. Look, he's got the little, the chain from the necklace to the back, the white tracksuit, the same haircut, same age.
That shit's killing it.
He's trying to get in the shot. He's like, oh, there's cameras on Mark Davis. Hold on. Let me get in the shot. Like he's trying to do like kids' birthdays as Al Davis.
I'd hire him.
Dude, if someone hired like an Al Davis lookalike to perform my 40th birthday, I would have lost my mind. That would have been so awesome. Look at the tracksuit. Look, he's like, look, he tried to get in the shot, and this little lady.
He even had the glasses, bro. The glasses are so keen.
He has like the same hairline. That's Al Davis at like 61, something like that, 58.
Yeah, getting there, yeah.
Right? And the little security guard's like, get out of here. Beat it.
Beat it, kid. You bother me.
And then, like, look, you got this security guard. Like, hey, tell him the other security guard. Like, this is, you could tell this big dude's like private security. You know what I mean? Like, Mark Davis's travel bodyguard. You know, And he's like telling the minimum wage security, like, dude, do something here. Come on.
Absolutely.
And he does. And then this one, like that hand motion. I don't know why I'm so into Mark Davis's hand motions. He's like such an old man. But then he does the thumbs up at the end.
I don't know, man. The thing is,
that's how you break down tape on the Autumn Windbags, right? That's called tape analysis at the Autumn Windbags. You're not gonna get that stuff anywhere.
I don't know when the last time someone so overtly challenged Mark Davis to his face. Especially when he's been so dug in with, got to have continuity. You have to be patient. You have to have to build consistency and this and that. That's what he's been preaching. So that's why I think like he's not looking to make a move at all this season. I don't know when he's been challenged like that. When's the last time he was challenged in that way? And he didn't handle it very well at all. It shows that it doesn't happen to him very often. I couldn't even attempt to even think when the last time that happened. I think maybe when he got squeezed out of the LA deal. Maybe it was the last time that happened to him. But he didn't handle it very well at all. And we kind of see, look, if you're an owner of a team and you're right, that you have a path and that you have a good plan and you have it set in place, you don't talk to a fan that way. If you're maybe a little bit
be smart.
If you're maybe a little insecure, you're starting to feel a little insecure about your decision, that's when you show that emotion.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if Mark Davis is at all even remotely involved in the conversation that it doesn't seem like it's going on within the Raiders facility, but it's definitely going on in Raider Nation. Who should start Monday night? Aidan O'Connell or Jimmy G-string? Farva versus the G-string. Who should be that starter? Because according to Josh McDaniels, he said this in the press conference, Raiders coach Josh McDaniels says Jimmy Garoppolo is still in concussion protocol. So he might not even be available by Monday, but who knows? But he will be the starting quarterback going forward if/when he clears. So according to JMD, it's not even a conversation, not a discussion. And I saw the presser. I didn't pull the video. I was being lazy this week. Maybe take a nap. But he was like, it wasn't even like he thought about it, like looked away. He's like, no. If Jimmy G clears, he's starting. No question about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. So in Josh McDaniels' mind, it's Jimmy G the second his brain is no longer oatmeal.
Well, and honestly, that makes sense because he's seen Jimmy G play better. He hasn't seen Aidan O'Connell play better. If Aidan O'Connell starts against the Packers and his improvement is because look, he played a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half. Aidan O'Connell, talking about Farva. So if Farva goes out there and he plays much better against the Packers, then that's when there's going to be, some pause before you answer. Because now you've seen your quarterback not go against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, right? Especially the worst pass defense in the NFL. A team that has a good defense, good corner, good line, good linebackers, good personnel, and they play really well too. So now you've seen him go against a good team. Because honestly, the whole comparison between Jimmy G and Aidan O'Connell is not quite fair because Aidan O'Connell played the Chargers defense, whereas the last 2 weeks before he was gone, Jimmy G played Buffalo's defense and the Steelers defense, who are both really good.
Yeah.
So you would want to have more info. That's why I'm always about the info. Give me more info before I make a decision. If Aidan O'Connell goes out there and plays better against the Packers, then there's going to be a little bit of a difference because now you've seen them again with the first team against good competition. How did they fare? But I'll tell you this: if Aidan O'Connell does play better against the Packers, and then Jimmy G's right against the Pats, and he starts struggling, there's going to be a hook. I don't know how quick it's going to be, but there's going to be a hook if he doesn't perform.
Well, and that's, I think, what the fan base is rooting for is the potential of Aidan O'Connell. We don't know what it is, right? He's played one game. We got a taste, we got a flavor, right? It's better than, 9 or 10 quarters of preseason football, right? That's all we had, which is almost nothing, but it's all we had, right? We had that, and it was very promising. So now we had one full game, and
The offense just looks smoother when Aidan O'Connell is in there.
He didn't knock anyone's socks off. The 3 turnovers were bad. Again, Jimmy G's turned the ball over like a madman anyway as well. The 2 fumbles, though, they just felt so far of his fault. Like he just stood in the pocket like a statue. The clock's going 1 minute, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4. He's still just standing there, right? Gets knocked over. It's like
once his clock sped up in the second half, he didn't have that issue.
He started getting better, right?
But he had more ball security. Look,
he started playing like he did at Purdue, running for his, you know what I mean? Like getting the ball out, throwing guys open, like moving I'm playing around, against a superior team. You know. I gotta take chances. I gotta be head in a swivel.
I gotta have that clock in my mind. I have to process this stuff quicker. Look, the first fumble, everybody knows, unless you're freaking Troy Aikman, who has just the biggest hands I've ever seen in my life. You don't pump fake like this. You pump fake into your offhand. Okay? Like, come on. That was just a huge rookie mistake. You don't pump fake like this. Like, you know, who are you?
Yeah.
But, you know, he did get better. He got better in the second half. His timing was better. His clock was quicker. He got the ball out better. He was okay with checking the ball down more in the second half, and the offense was moving. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Again, I will preface it by saying this. It was the Chargers' 32nd ranked pass defense.
Yeah.
Okay?
They just decided we're not going to cover Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. They just we're not going to do that. What's he ever done? And so he got 86 yards or something, just dumping it off to JJ. Like again,
I love how he runs off those freaking little check downs now.
Josh,
he doesn't run to miss contact. He runs through like he's running like a running back. Like
statistically, he's obviously so much worse this season than last season. But like the way he's playing football, like he's so good blocking out the backfield. Like one of the best running backs.
Blitz pickup that I sent you guys. Oh my god.
Just lowering shoulders, right? Taking blitzing linebackers. Like he might get pushed back a little bit, but you're not running over him. You're not running by him. Getting out of the backfield and running.
Maybe you'll be able to pop this up when in editing. But he was supposed to chip on a pass play, but he saw the linebacker blitzing and he annihilated that linebacker. He flipped them all the way around, gave Favre the time to throw the ball. That's just really headsy play. He's playing a lot smarter, even though maybe he's not. He looked a lot better this game. He had some more runs, for more yardage, and that's partially because the line played a little bit better, but he also played better as well. So there's with the teams that we have coming up, there's optimism there. There's some pretty bad teams that we're playing coming up.
At the end of the day, if Jimmy Garoppolo gets out of concussion, the only notes we got from him was Monday, right? He's still in concussion protocol. We're recording this Wednesday night. Maybe things will change as the week goes on. Because, again, long week, right? Monday game. The Raiders don't practice until Thursday because it's a Monday game. He might be out of it right now, and we'll find out Thursday morning.
Yeah.
But if he isn't, and if Jimmy G is, right? He comes out of concussion protocol on Thursday. I can't close my eyes and imagine Josh McDaniels going to Mark Davis and being like, hey, that guy you gave $33 million to? Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm not going to start him. I've got this 4th round rookie that turned the ball over 3 times last week. He's going to start instead. Like that's what we're going to do.
Well, yeah,
are you punting on the season? Because it's going to look that way. It will look that way because we're all banking on the potential of Aidan O'Connell. It's going to look to Mark Davis if Josh McDaniels goes to him and says this, like, you're punting on the season. You're going with the 4th round rookie to see what's under the hood instead of the guy you brought in, the guy I gave a third of $100 million to.
Yeah, and that's something for Dave Ziegler too. You had me get rid of my quarterback for 9 seasons for the guy that you wanted. I gave him $33 million, and you want to play after 4 games. You want to start over the guy that you wanted, a guy that you got with the last pick in the 4th round. That's what you want to do. So it's not good optics for Josh McDaniels or Dave Ziegler for that matter. But like I said, if you have more information, you can say, look, I am confident that Jimmy G can get the job done. But when they've been on the field this guy has played better, and I want to play the hot hand. I think that gives us the best chance to win is the hot hand.
Yeah.
That's something you could explain, but you have to have the information to show it.
The Jimmy G injury was a weird, random, it's hard to say blessing in disguise. Your starting quarterback going down, but at least it forced Raider Nation to look at Aidan O'Connell and see what was under the hood for a game. It's like, okay, let's see what we got for a game. And now we know, right? If you would have just torched the Chargers for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, you'd be like, okay, sorry, Jimmy G, kick rocks. Like you can make
if he would have went out
that
there,
call, right? You can Josh McDaniels and say, Mark, look, I drafted this brilliant guy in the 4th. Look what I did. Look at this diamond in the rough that I found. Like we got to ride this hot hand. You know what I mean?
That way you pump yourself up by pumping up somebody else in this sense. Let's say that were to have happened. You know what? Jimmy G was never the long-term plan. He was only a short-term plan. Yep. We drafted this kid because we were confident in his ability. He just is so good that he got so much better with our coaching and our help faster than we thought. Mm-hmm. But he's ready now. And I understand you gave this guy more money, but he's ready faster than we thought he would be. And we found the guy or whatever. So,
and then you make the case like, hey, let's trade Jimmy G to the Jets or, another a quarterback's going to go down somewhere on a potential playoff team before the trade deadline. And then you're like, hey, we can get something for him, right? So you can.
That's a lot of dominoes to fall. But for right now, we need more information from Aidan O'Connell.
You don't think the Jets would take a Jimmy Garoppolo trade conversation right this second? If Aidan knocked the socks off of last game and next game.
I think it's possible. I don't think that it's probable by how Jimmy G has looked.
Mm. I mean, compared to how Zach Wilson's looked.
I'll tell you one thing, though, man. I'll tell you one thing. Him having that look on his face, saying it's my fault, bro. I lost the game. Mm-hmm. That's huge because that wasn't who he was last year. So
it was the Taylor Swift effect. There were some heavy eyes on his performance, and now he's feeling guilty. Before I didn't care.
All those chicks at home flipping through their Football for Dummies books, like, what is this?
So I would say the biggest silver lining or the biggest bright spot from the Chargers game was the defense, specifically in the second half. Even in the first half, when they gave a lot of points, they had to fight off of 2 turnovers, and still they were able to hold the Chargers to, I believe, their season low in points. I don't have it in front of me. Don't quote me. They held them to 24 and no points in the second half, and they held Justin Herbert to 13 completions, 167 yards, and an interception, a QBR of 35.7. Justin Herbert. We're not fans of Justin Herbert on this podcast, but we are very well aware of what he's capable of. And so this was awesome, watching our defense that's supposed to be atrocious, has been atrocious. We thought would continue to be atrocious, and the offense would carry us. It was the opposite. Soto, was this just a crazy fluke? Or is this something that is applicable to this defense? Is this what the defense is or capable of? Or was this just every season our defense randomly shows up for a random game?
I think it's a little bit of both because there were a lot of things that need to get cleaned up. Some of the tackling needs to get cleaned up. I think that
even in the good second half, tackling was so bad.
Oh yeah, it was
even in the good second half, it still wasn't.
I mean, great. Yeah, everything except for your favorite play, Divine Diablo's double leg takedown.
Dude, you're looking for highlights.
That's
defensively for our team. Like how many other ones are better than that?
That and everything that Max Crosby did.
Yeah. Non-Max Crosby highlights.
Yeah. That's probably the best.
Interceptions bouncing off of DB's hands, running into quarterbacks for a sack, and then standing up and falling off.
One thing that you want to take a look at too, the one thing that I noticed when I looked at snap counts, Jacorian Bennett didn't play a lot of snaps. Yeah. David Long took a lot of snaps in the secondary in that game. I don't see that. I don't think that's going to be a long-term thing, but it's very difficult. Like not everyone's going to be Sauce Gardner, dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to have some lumps. And I think David Long is he's a little bit more of a pro. He's not going to make those big mistakes that Jacorian Bennett was making. And I think that shows a little bit more. Go back to it again. It shows a better leadership style and more headsy thinking from Patrick Graham.
Like Patrick Graham hasn't wowed anybody, but he is flexible. He does try stuff and change things up. And
we're not playing that simple shell anymore. We're not doing that. We're being more aggressive. We're switching things up. But these players, I think the issue that we're having right now is the players trying to do too much. Mm-hmm. There is the Divine Diablo just thinking really too far ahead. And, I got the quarterback. Let me just make sure I do my job, even if you let the ball go. Let me just do my job. Why am I going to do someone else's job when I already have the quarterback in my hand? Let me just let him go and see where he threw the ball because I want to make the play again. No, do your job, right? He got caught in the wash in that first 50-something yard run. That was his play to make, and he got caught in the wash. He got turned around, and he didn't make the tackle.
And 7 other people missed the tackle.
I mean, it was really the most egregious on him. It was he ran right.
That's when he broke free, and then everyone else just kind of
ran right by him. It's like, dude, and in the NFL, man, it just takes you to make one guy miss, and everyone else is doing their job. Yeah, and they're just not in a position to do yours.
And that's what, and we always talk about like feel. Like he keeps saying how Aidan O'Connell, the offense just like looked smoother when he was playing. The defense looked bad. Like it just it wasn't until halfway through the fourth quarter I realized like, oh crap. Justin Herbert hasn't done squat. They haven't scored in the second half. We finally got a turnover for the first time all season. Hallelujah. Only took 15 quarters, right? It wasn't more than that. It wasn't until like, oh, wow, like the numbers are on our side, even though we're still like missing tackles and like not looking great, other than Max, as always.
I think what made us look really bad in the second half was their ball carriers were always falling forward. Mm-hmm. They were dragging us for that extra yard. Even when we made the tackle, they were still getting that extra yard on us, right? So that was something that made it look, I think, worse than it was. There was Justin Herbert just didn't have a lot of places to go with the ball. And to their credit, I'm going to say right now, Spillane, Diablo, and some of the DBs did run up to make tackles when he dumped the ball off, when Herbert dumped the ball off. Yeah. And we got them in those, third and mid-range, decisions. And then Herbert was just inaccurate in the second half. I don't know whether his hand was bothering him, whether the Tillery hit really shook him up. I don't know what happened, but he threw a lot of those balls out of bounds, like really far out of bounds on third down plays. So who knows, man? It could be any number of things. I think a couple of things, especially early, we saw a lot of like just whiffs on tackles early in the game. Mm-hmm. We saw our guys getting dragged for an extra yard throughout the game, and maybe some penalties that should have been called or shouldn't have been called or whatever were called. It made the defensive effort look worse than it was. I think it was pretty good.
So this is what the Raiders had going for them. Max Crosby had a really good, even by Max Crosby standards, 9 pressures, 8 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. I mean, he was playing. Everyone always looks at the sack number, right? There's he had a 4-sack game, right? Khalil Mack had a 6-sack game.
Tackles for loss are just as good as a freaking sack.
Yeah, and like those pressures are why Herbert was dumping it off or throwing it away, right? It's like Max Crosby was Max Crosby.
Was harassed,
plus, right? Like he ate his Wheaties. Like I said, we finally got our takeaway. Finally. 2 dropped
due to pressure,
right? 2 dropped picks. Those were so the Merrick interception was just a gift wrapped by Herbert because of pressure.
That ball caught him.
It was just too easy. Those 2 drop picks were because guys were making good plays and getting in good position. They were jumping in front. It hit both hands. They should have caught it, but it wasn't them just like in left field and it fell in their lap. They were making a play. They just didn't make the play, right? So that was there. And they did it all without Nate Hobbs. I would say the second best player on our defense. Is there a question? Is there even a question? Who would be it's got to be Nate, right?
I think he's the second best player.
Merrick's playing better, but I still think Nate. I think Nate's unquestionably the second best player. Did it without him. Going against us, though, the Chargers were really beat up. No Mike Williams, obviously, out for the season. Austin Eckler and Gerald Everett all out. And those are all major point scorers and yard makers for the Chargers. So I think that's also has to be taken into consideration when we're addressing how well this defense is. I don't know. I don't see players progressing, but I did see probably Patrick Graham's best game in a long time, schematically wise.
Yeah, I thought we did see the team play better as a team, although there were still individual mistakes. I think it's safe to say that.
This is probably the Raiders' best defensive performance
in a while.
I think better than we held other teams to less points last season, but I wouldn't say the defensive. It would be like a way worse offense. We didn't have 3 turnovers in that game.
Well, 2 turnovers within the 25-yard line, dude. We basically gave them 14 points.
I mean, what were the first few drives? 3 and out.
It was 3 and out touchdown. I think it was fumble. No,
I think you're right. Yeah, punt for Raiders. Punt, touchdown, fumble, punt, field goal, punt, touchdown, interception, game over. The offense didn't do a whole lot there for you. And still the defense held a really good offense to 24 points.
How many 3 and outs did we have? Do you see that?
Yeah. First drive, 1, 2, a 4, 3, then fumble. Another 3 and out, another 3 and out, another 3 and out.
That's
13
brutal,
plays,
man.
12 plays, and the interception. So the first 1, 2, 3,
Listen up, guys.
4, 5.
There's a reason why
6.
I asked that.
First 7 drives, it was either all 3 and outs or fumbles and plus 1 touchdown. So 6 3 and outs or fumbles.
Here's something that is encouraging is that we had our 2 longest drives to end the game, or 2 very long drives to end the game. So we made adjustments late, coaching wise, and Aidan, it was Farva getting more comfortable too.
Well, defensively, going backwards, first drive for the Chargers. Obviously, that last drive was 6 plays just to extend the clock, right? 6 drives, extend the clock. Then 4 plays, turnover on downs, 3 and out, 7 plays, interception, 3 and out, 1 play just to end the half, 3 and out. And then that was when they were and then early in the game when they scored. So defensively, we ended awesome. Since the touchdown in the second quarter for the Chargers, they got 2 first downs. And one of them, they threw an interception right after. 2 first downs in over a half. That's awesome.
That's what I'm telling you. Look,
awesome.
it was the team playing better. It was just individuals making mistakes that made the entire defensive effort look worse. But as a team, they played pretty good.
Are you ready to do some What Up Windbags?
Yes, sir.
I got this super hot and sexy salary cap conversation I want to get into, but we're already up to an hour, so we'll save it for next time. Matthew Davis, 3014. Mark Davis has another problem. Owners can't afford to look impatient. Prospective hires won't think they'll get a fair shot. So yeah, if things go on like this early next season at the earliest, that's an element to this conversation we haven't talked about, is if you look like a revolving door of coaches, it's going to look bad for prospective coaches moving forward.
I think there's a little bit of that, but ultimately there's only 32 of these in the world.
Yeah.
And if you're offered one, you're probably going to take it.
I think it's like, this is only going to affect maybe 3 coaches. I'm talking like if like Harbaugh leaves Michigan and comes here, if like Pete Carroll leaves, I don't know, something, you know what I mean? Something super like a really blue blood coach, a blue blood head coach that has his pick of the litter, it'll affect them. But even then, like, I don't think firing McDaniels after a season and a half instead of 2 seasons is going to make a coach think, oh yeah, this Raiders are a great run franchise. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's going to be the breaking point. Like, we played the video of when, why am I blanking on his name? Broncos head coach, Sean Payton, right?
Sean Payton, yeah.
The interview we did, it's one of our shorts of how he had a silver and black suit. Al Davis had him to be his coach after
Hayden ass freaking Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells talked him out of it. Like, he had his suit. He was going to fly to Oakland and be the Raiders head coach. And Parcells talked him out of it because, like, hey, it's a franchise that's not run that good. Like, you don't want to do this. And he'd never been a head coach at that point. It was a big deal. And he pulled out, right? You know, I hate to say it. Like, I bleed silver and black Raider Nation, but we don't have a great reputation as a run organization.
He had that quick hook, man. He had that quick hook. And that was something that I think Mark Davis has been hearing a long time about, is how his dad set himself back because of all the regime changes over and over and over. Now, it wasn't that big of a turnover because the GM was Al Davis. So you still have the same guy picking all the groceries, you know what I'm saying? So I get why he is how he is, and maybe Mark Davis wants to distance himself from being compared to his dad and all the negative connotations about being compared to his dad. So he wants the positive ones. And it's, plucking that, unknown head coach, John Madden, the unknown head coach, Tom Flores, the unknown head coach, Art Shell. Like, those are the things that,
I mean, you look at Al Davis at his worst when he was like borderline senile in a wheelchair, still trying to run the Raiders.
I don't want to think about that.
That's not
for cause.
Like, that's not much worse product on the field wise than what Mark Davis has done. Like that's the thing is he's like, well, I don't be compared to my dad. It's like, no one is. Nobody's comparing you to Al Davis at all. You haven't done 1%. Like, you look at Al Davis at his best, 90% of his best, 80% of it, 30% of Al Davis's best is still better than anything Mark Davis has done. No one's comparing you to. Which one's that?
He's airing his dick out. Look at it. He's just chilling on his back.
Oh, jelly.
Oh, no,
Please tell me there's a fan right there.
There's this fan right there.
Dutchmaster 707. Reporters act like, gee, McDaniels, I feel your pain. Then ask the easiest softball questions. Imagine McDaniels dealing with the East Coast media. Vegas media is pretty lenient. Generally,
it irritates me so much that they're so easy on him because, like, he answered that question about dealing with Khalil Mack, and he said, "Yeah, we did a bunch of different things. We did a number of things to try to stop him. It just, he's just had a good day today." And we were talking about this on our DMs, so you, myself, and Rory, and he double teamed Khalil Mack twice in the entire game.
Yeah,
you said, well, to be fair, 2 is a number.
Yeah, we did a number of things.
Yeah,
like,
2.
We did 2 things.
That's a number.
Technically, that's a number.
I mean,
I see no lies.
The problem with that is Josh McDaniels is and it was another tweet that I saw that the only time he was specific is when he was kind of like, I wouldn't say he was bashing, but he was talking about what Aidan O'Connell did wrong. Everything else was just humming and hawing and and
I will defend Josh McDaniels there because everyone's like, oh, he's I can't believe he blamed his quarterback. He came down on Aidan O'Connell. Like, no, he didn't. He asked specifically what needs to be done, and 3 turnovers is a killer.
Yeah,
what's specific sure. Like that?
But he was also asked specific questions to the contrary, and he just lied.
Yeah,
he's acting like we don't have access to game film. He's acting like we don't know his offense, that we don't know about NFL offenses and defenses and what can be done to help and stop certain things and to give himself a better chance of success. He acts like we don't know that stuff. And the problem is when the media asks him questions, they give him one question and they dip. And then someone else asks a question. There's no follow-up. There's no hammering. There's no drilling down. So he can lie like that. He can just say an overt lie that they tried a number of things to stop Khalil Mack. When the connotation of a number of things is I tried many things, which he didn't.
It's and it is smooth of Josh McDaniels to behave that way in the sense that he's going to be brief. He's going to speak in generalities. He's not going to give you extra access because he doesn't want to have to deal with it. And that's a plus for him. It sucks for us. It sucks for everyone, Raider Nation. It sucks for the content creators. It sucks for the journalists and beat writers. Like it's a net loss. I wish it was not that way. Josh McDaniels doesn't care about the media. He doesn't care how we feel.
He cares about one person. He cares about
him,
what Mark Davis
right?
thinks.
Mark Davis and him, right? And like his next job potentially,
he cares
right?
About
that's what
Mark Davis thinks.
And that's the one part of the Patriot way that he has mastered and continued. Give the media as little as possible about anything schematically, what's going on in your brain, personnel. You want to talk about like what we just saw? Like everyone knows there was 3 turnovers. I'll tell you about that. You ask Bill Belichick about use of a fullback. He'll blather on for 20 minutes because it's just just general football history. He'll talk about that, no problem. You ask like, what's the X's and O's on Sunday? Like, we're going to do our best. They're a really good team. I have a lot of respect for their coaching staff. We're going to have to, play all 3 phases of football and just give you nothing.
What was that line from The Departed? Treat them like mushrooms. You feed them shit, keep them in the dark.
Yeah.
That's how Josh McDaniels. I mean, no, I was quoting.
Is that a rule? Quoting.
I mean, I was quoting.
Okay.
I think. I mean, if I want to talk about the commissioner, okay, time out. Okay,
time out. Yeah.
Can I call him football hating pussy and not get dinged for it?
I didn't know pussy was one of the words. Is that for sure?
I mean, you can't say that. You can't say that in school, like, and not get in trouble.
You said there were 3 words.
No, there was the big 5, right? Because we know what a curse word is and what a curse word isn't.
Okay.
Because look, one of the five wasn't cunt, but if we say that, that's a curse word.
Yeah, that's arguably the worst one.
That's the worst one, but it wasn't one of the big 5.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. So quoting, you're okay. Quoting, it's like you're allowed to drop the N-word if you're rapping along to a hip hop song.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's part of the lyrics. Within reason.
Yeah, no problem.
Within reason. Now, I will say this: we should err on the side of dinging.
Okay.
If let's say I start saying something and I get a little too far. No, that's enough.
Yeah, we got to get this number up. Only 13. It has only been a week and a half when we're at 13.
How the hell are we going to go to the strip club with $13?
Trust me. By January, especially if we keep losing,
it's going to get up there.
We're going to have a VIP table and bottles.
I didn't think I was going to do this good, honestly.
Me neither. G360 Live. This is my favorite one. I saved this one as soon as I saw it last week.
Live.
I didn't think Farva was looking at one Lombardi trophy. So one of our T-shirts that we have, it's the Autumn Windbags, but it's the cover of Super Troopers, and they've got like the Super Troopers face, and he's got the aviators on, the headshot, the aviators, and you see the Super Bowl trophy in there. And it's the Super Trophy's facing 2 different directions. One is an inverted photo of the other. And so Soto's like, our editor, our graphics guy screwed up and inverted it, right? G360 Live doesn't think so, Soto. I didn't think Favre was looking at one Lombardi trophy. I thought he was looking at 2 Lombardi trophies that were facing opposite of each other. Like the scene in The Matrix when Morpheus offers Neo either the red or blue pill, and in Morpheus' sunglasses, only the red pill is visible in one lens, while only the blue pill is visible in the other lens. So Farva, he's not looking at one Super Bowl, Soto. He's looking at 2. One Super Bowl is not enough for Aidan O'Connell. He's got 2 Super Bowls in his mind.
I hate wishing my life away. Maybe it's because I got close to losing it. I don't like when people are like, "Oh, I can't wait for the weekend." Like I always tell them, don't wish your life away. Make every day count, right? But man, if I could just go into the future and see how many Super Bowls Aidan O'Connell is going to win us, probably 0. But look, at least 2 as far as our T-shirt goes.
Hey, at least the random dude in India that does our graphics from Fiverr, he thinks it's 2. he thinks Aidan O'Connell is going to win this too. And you know what? That's good enough for me.
Far be it from me to argue with our graphics guy from India.
All right, that's it for us. We will do our breakdown of Packers Raiders YouTube exclusive live either Friday night or Saturday morning. Stay close to our social medias. We'll let you know when that is. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo is the big story. Will he or will he not play? And maybe Aidan O'Connell is forced on Josh McDaniels. We'll find that out for you. Dude, the salary cap for us, the cap situation is brutal. Brutal right now. With losing Chandler Jones, we have the sixth most dead cap.
I knew football hitting pussy wasn't going to give us an exception for his ass.
Well, there's still time. There's still contracts to sort out. Like if there were stipulations in his contract
after the season, I get it.
Yeah, there's potentially some wiggle room for us, but as of now, we gotta talk about that. It's never fun. That must be talked about. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video, and if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.